Hey, good evening. So the purpose of this video is to show you the proper way to test a water heater for leaks. So I've seen a lot of videos online where people test them with air pressure, and the only proper way to test a water heater is to do a hydrostatic pressure test. So this is a test where the water heater is completely filled up with water, and then it's pressurized to a certain pressure. So in this video, we will be pressurizing the water heater to about 225 psi, and we're going to see if it passes. Thanks for watching.
That's a good animal. You hear that? That's a good sound.
So right now I'm preparing the water heater, getting it ready for the pressure test, so I have to remove the drain valve and put in a short piece of copper pipe so that I can drain the remaining water out of it and flush it out prior to filling it up. So there's the remaining water there, pretty nasty. And I take this rag here and I wipe off the top. I kind of do it for luck. Usually the top of the water heater is really dusty and dirty, so I just clean that off. Always looks a lot better, and I feel like it's lucky, although this was a pretty good looking water heater and I really wasn't worried about it passing. Oh, there's my cat there in the background. So getting that thing cleaned off real well, and then I'm going to take it out front and fill it up with water, flush it a little bit, and get it pressurized. So this is really the only way to properly test a water heater. It's the way I used ever since I first started using it. Well, when I first got into servicing water heaters and selling them used, I had a series of leaks, and I was going to kind of shut my business down and stop doing it. And then a gentleman who was doing the installations for me, he's a certified plumber, told me, hey, you want to perform a hydrostatic pressure test on these water heaters, and then you'll know for sure, absolutely, whether or not they leak. And so as soon as I started doing that, I've only had maybe two out of 200 water heaters have a leak. So it's been a real game changer for me. It's pretty much foolproof. I stand behind all the water heaters I sell, so I tell people when they buy them, if they're not happy or they leak right away, they can always return them. So right now I'm just getting the hose out, and I got to screw it on here on the cold nipple so I can get the water into the water heater. So I get the hose and then I screw it on and tighten it down real good, and then I flush it out. So right now I'm filling up the water heater with water, and I noticed some water was coming out where the TMP goes over there on the side. Water was running down the side of the water heater, so I'm going over here and I'm getting a piece of pipe with a cap on it, and then I'm going to cap that section off. The dip tube inside the water heater often has a tiny hole drilled in it. I imagine that's to release pressure. I'm not entirely sure why that exists, but it does let a little bit of cold water out where the hot water is in a water heater. The hot water rises to the top, then the cold water enters the water heater at the bottom. So I don't really like there being holes in the dip tube because it's important to separate those two temperatures of water. So now I'm just tightening it down, and then I'm going to continue to flush it out. So now I am capping off all the rest of the ports on the water heater. So that is the tube with the shutoff valve that I will connect the hydrostatic pressure gadget to, I guess. I'm not sure what it's called. And just tightening that down. And then I'll connect that. That allows me to pump the water into the water heater and then measure it on a gauge. So now it's shut off. I'm going to go over and turn the water on so I can start filling it up. It's a 40-gallon water heater, so it takes a little while. So I'll be filling it up on full blast. And now I will be putting another shut-off valve on the hot side so that I can vent all the air, because when you fill up a water heater, there's air inside when it's empty, and then that water pushes that air, and it all has to get vented out. And so it's just a lot easier for me to put a shut-off valve on there and let all the air out that way, and then I can quickly shut it off just before the water comes up. Okay, so it's all tightened. I'm gonna let a little air out here. Alright, not enough pressure's built up. And I shake the water heater back and forth so I can see how full it is. Because you can feel the water, inside the water heater, and that gives me a good idea of how close it is to being full. There is the machine that I use to pressurize the water heaters with. That's the hydrostatic pressure machine or pressurizer. So I just connect it here to the shutoff at the end and tighten it down. Then I can open that valve and the whole system becomes one there. So the valve is open, I'm tightening it down, and then once it's full, it releases a little bit of water in there. So if I close that valve right there, then I can stop the water from coming in. And I like to move it into place. That's where I like it. Clean off the screen a little bit so I can see it. Looks like I'm letting out some air right here. Venting it, shutting off the water so it's full. Then I'll be able to pressurize it. Now I'm just removing the hose. Then I'm going to put a little more Teflon tape on there, and I'm going to put a cap on the water heater. There's the Teflon tape. Always got to use that, make sure it doesn't leak. I've had too many leaks under all that pressure. It's like 225 psi. So there's the cap. I put the cap on, and then I tighten that down real good, and then I can start pressurizing the water heater. And we'll see how it does here after about an hour and a half. That fortunately you don't have to sit through. So I purchased the hydrostatic pressurizer. I'm not quite sure what to call it. I got it on Amazon for about $100, which was pretty reasonable. And it works great. I mean, I use it almost every single day. I'm not even sure it's meant for that much use. So I did have one before this one. So it went about a year and a half of using it every single day, and then it finally died. But I had a backup, and it gets a lot of use, and it works really well. It's a pretty good deal for $100. Okay, so the pressure test is complete, and it's sitting under pressure right now, 225 psi. You can see there on the gauge, and we'll let you know here in a second what the outcome was. Okay, so I just wanted to give you an update on the water heater that was pressure tested. It passed the pressure test. I let it sit for an hour and a half. The gauge never moved. This is the water heater right here. I just finished it. The valve is good, so I just replaced the missing burner assembly, cleaned it up a little bit, and all seems to be well. Just a few little things I need to do to it. I need to put in a drain valve and a TMP and reinsert the anode rod. But I appreciate you watching, and I got a GoPro today, so I was excited to use it. So that's where most of the video footage is from. However, the audio is horrible, so it's gonna basically be silent. So I wanted to finish the video with my phone here so you could hear me. Anyway, I really appreciate you watching the video if you made it this far. And you guys have a good day. Please leave any comments if you have any questions at all. And we'll see you on the next one.